Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome in to the XBL Weekly Roundup, week number 2 edition. My name is Weaver for Prez, and tonight I'm joined, as always, by one of the co-commissioners of the league, Dwayne. Dwayne, how you feeling? We are now 2 weeks down in the 10th season of the XBL, third overall season of the AAA, and second season of the AA.
I'm feeling great, Weaver. Thank you for asking. Good to be back with you for another weekly roundup. Like you said, it has been awesome so far, and I just am impressed with the amount of parity we've seen really so far. Just so many good games, so many streams from tons of players. So it's been great to take it all in across the past couple weeks, and it only gets better from here. I say that all the time. You know, every week I say it gets better and better and better because that's truly how it goes. It really ramps up as we go along, and the playoff picture starts to take shape. And now that we're deep into the throes of the end of week 2, now into week 3. Things are starting to shape up nicely in all 3 leagues, and it's getting really interesting and exciting.
Yeah, those first couple weeks had that huge excitement factor. Everything's new. There's rookies, storylines, etc.
Hmm.
But you're right. The closer you get to playoffs, the more tense things get, especially in the XBL, where not everyone does make the playoffs. Granted, there's still plenty of drama in the lower leagues because of seeding. Seeding crucial. You always want home field, etc.
Indeed.
But yeah, without further ado, though, we will get into the power rankings, and as always, we will start with the Double A, which is actually entering its final week of regular season play. Following week 3, they will engage in a new addition to the Double A, which is a round robin tournament. We'll have more details on that soon. But in these power rankings, we see no movement at 8 and 7. That's Sondco and M. Coombs.
Yeah, no games out of Sonko this week. Just a quiet one, getting some internet situations sorted out. So interested to see how his season's going to shape up after he starts to pack those games in. Like you said, Double A is starting to really hit that tail end of the regular season and get ready for that round robin. And that should be interesting for Mystery Inc. as he packed in a lot of his games early, so he has only a couple more series to play. So the next week that's coming up should be telling for him for that positioning in that round robin.
And then going up into the mid-table of the Double A, no movement at 6, 5, nor 4. That is Yellow Bunting, Snowbird, and a Diesel, who came into the season ranked 1.
Yeah, you can tell the top half of that Double A has been pretty strong all season, and it's kept the teams here in the middle pretty much where they are. Everybody's just really trying to find that success. A lot of these teams are rookie teams, I think, barring Cougar and Diesel. So just everybody trying to get used to the XBL style of play and find themselves a couple wins. And that's why I think it's going to be really interesting to see all these players go into a bit of a different style tournament.
Yeah, look out for Diesel there at 4. You can see that 9.11 runs scored per 9.
Yeah,
I almost
wow.
don't believe it. That's to the moon, if you will.
Heavy duty.
And we'll go into the top 3. I believe a bit of a shakeup here. Oh no, it is the Jackrabbits at rank 1, and then a tie between Ben McNineteen and Natron there. All 3 of these guys just playing exceptional.
Yeah, indeed they are. Their offensive approaches have been really tough to stop. But you see there, Cougar not quite as heavy on the offense as the other 2 that are stacked behind him, because we know Cougar to be really of that pitching first nature, and that's carried him to that really impressive 11-1 record. He did end up picking up a loss finally, though, over the past week against Ben Mack, and that's part of the reason why you could see Ben rising up to number 2 over Natron, even though they are tied pretty much there either way.
Yeah, I can't go wrong either way with the 2 or the 3 there. And as I pointed out, Diesel's run scored per 9. Look at Natron. That's easily leading the league. 11.81 runs scored per 9. Just astronomical. A good story so far for the Porgs. And that will take us into the AAA rankings after 2 weeks of play. No surprise here at 2 and 10. Unfortunately for Joe Beje, he is at 19 for the 3rd ranking in a row.
Yeah, quiet week out of Job, just losing 2 games to Rainey, who's on that top end. So not going to see much movement from him after a very quiet week where not much goes on for him.
And moving on up, where we have the Aeronauts there with Goldfinger, swapping spots with Rise and Fall, a couple AA graduates putting on their displays as they are, and then of course Tam Danitz there at 16 with the Hudson Softies. Definitely want to highlight the win there at the bottom for Rise and Fall versus the Yellowfin.
Yeah, that was huge for Rise and Fall. I believe that was towards the tail end of the roundup last week where that series took place, and he took the win off of Phillies Rock. So that was really, really big for him. But only at 2 and 12, so hanging out at number 17, that does give him a push after a tough week for the Aeronauts and Goldfinger. And the Hudson Softies over there at 16, staying where they are. It's going to be interesting to see from him, I think. He's won some games against M. Bennings, as you can see there, and against Ox last week. So starting to get the ball rolling a little bit. It's going to be really important for him to play well against the top players.
Moving on down the list, or up, I should say. A couple spot demotions for a couple of these guys. All 3 of these, actually. The Foxes, that is Blue Panther. The Heavy Hitters, of course, Tezzy Do It All. And the Hippies in Ricks, all knocking down a couple spots.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what sort of movement at the top managed to push these players down. But as you can see, they've had pretty in the middle sort of weeks. Everybody right around 500 in those result categories, and that's why they're hanging out right a bit below. You see Ricks there 1 game below, Tezzy 2, and Blue Panther 2 games below as well. So these guys are looking good so far, picking up some good wins, some good splits. But it's all about improving your seeding going forward, trying to find a way to get home field advantage in that AAA bracket.
And that'll take us somewhat into the mid-table after those three dangerous opponents. A 3-spot upgrade for Zlatanimal and his Rhinos. 3-spot downgrade for Eduardo, the veteran pitcher there. And no movement for Oxbox as he hangs around in the top 10.
Yeah, very nice to see Zlatanimal have a strong week. You can see there where he picked up 5 wins and 2 losses. So after a big week, he moves up with that 3-spot promotion. Eduardo had a bit of a rougher time with it, but he went up against some really tough opponents. But splitting with Tezzy there in the middle as well, managed himself 1 win this weekend. Ox with a huge win against Judas Goat and the Borgs. That is not to be understated. He's right there at 10, and I think right where he wants to be right now after a good start playing a lot of the bigger teams as well.
Yeah, we will circle back to that Hologram's defeat of the Borgs a little later as we move on into the top 9 in the AAA after 2 weeks of play. So at the start of week 3, we have the Pokey OGs. That is Phil. A short week for him. I believe he got more games in week 1 in anticipation of some scheduling issues. And then, of course, BBLC making his debut. He was out week 1. He comes in with a blazing 5-1 start. Very impressive. And then, of course, the Wolfie Lions, 2-spot promotion.
Yeah, BBLC and his offense, the Knights definitely showing very well out in their first 3 games. And eager to see, I think some more results came in where some more runs and more wins were picked up for him recently in this week 3. So looking to have gotten the ball rolling now that he's back. Like you said, Phil, we're eager to see him get back on the horse. He packed in a lot of games early, just the games against Zlatanimal, which he lost earlier in the week. And big for Wolfie to rise this week. A lot of big wins. You see 4-2 in that result category over the 6-game spread against some of the top teams in the AAA.
No question about it. Good showing on Match of the Week. And the same can be said for a team that we see here in that middle. That is Wishbone Rules, who played last night. Delivery Boys today, they hold pat at 6. And then a nice little promotion for M. Bennings and the Dog Pound. You can see he also took a game off of the Yellowfin.
Yeah, always big when you can hop into that top 4. That's a bit of a vote of confidence for sure from the field of voters in the league office. And M. Bennings showing in his early AAA rookie career that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with for the rest of the season. Wishbone had a great showing on Match of the Week. You can see the runs scored, the home runs all coming in bunches. 37 home runs. It's absolutely out of this world for him.
3.3 home runs per 9 innings. Just crazy.
Yeah, you got to envy power numbers like that. That's truly efficient. And like you said, Delivery Boys are holding pat. We're going to see what happens for them going forward because McDonough definitely scored a lot of runs early on, hitting a bit of a stutter right now in this middle season. It's going to be important for him to get back on the horse, or the octopus, as they might say.
And that'll take us into the top 3 here, which is no changes, actually. The Mississippi Moons and Rainey at 3, Judas Goat and his Borgs at 2, and then, of course, the high-powered offense of the Yellowfin at number 1. Honestly, going forward, though, I think there's going to be a more contentious battle between those top 2, or even the top 3.
Yeah, I know. You can definitely consider Judas Goat rising up the table here. Things staying right where they are at number 3 for a lot of reasons, but the games between these players, especially going forward, are going to be very important, I think, as we go on.
So those, once again, are your top 3 AAA players at the end of 2 weeks. And that takes us into the XBL list, where we have 18 teams, and grateful that we don't have the Colts just all on their own on the first slide. We can talk about 3 teams here. Still at 18, however, is Jay Boops. Falling a couple of spots is a Finite Provision. And then, although the Melonheads picked up a couple of wins there at the end of week 2, still at 16.
Yeah, tough for the Melonheads to start out. A pretty strong schedule I think he's played. So Webb's definitely looking to get back to it. His offense has started to come together a little bit as the season has aged on. Finite has had a really rough season. A lot of tough losses. You can see his batting average is all right. His run scored is all right. He's just had a tough time keeping the runs off the board. And, just a few unfortunate situations, a few close games have resulted in those losses. And the Colts still trying to find that first win. Jay Boop's trying to get it going.
And that'll take us up past those melon heads to No Name, who had a nice upset victory, maybe the upset of the XBL season so far, versus Luke Archer and the Mallards, who are much higher on the list. B. Hagen does fall a spot, but may be turning a corner. We will see. Had a good showing on Match of the Week. And Keck holds pat at 13 with that very solid pitching.
Yeah, I think that Match of the Week result for B. Hagen is definitely going to go a long way as we go forward. He's a lot closer to 500 than that ranking is going to make you feel at number 14. And then Keck and No Name, yeah, they're looking pretty all right so far. These are all teams that are going to be in that dogfight for the final playoff spot. Like you said, the upset of the season perhaps coming from No Name against Luke in that 6-5 game. Very, very tight one throughout. If you watched it, that was a heart stopper. But it's all going to be about how a lot of these teams play against each other, in my opinion. And that's what I say when it's going to be a dogfight, because whoever comes out on top, who's ever able to find a few of those sweeps, is going to find their way into the back end of the playoffs.
Moving on up into the middle of the mid-table, we have Doso ranked 12. I think I almost want to say one of the higher ranks he's achieved. Has looked pretty prime this season 10, so good for him. We'll see what comes of him. A 3-in-1 week, you'll always take that. Yourself, Dwayne, there a bit of a crash there, down to 11. Still a solid record though. And then, of course, the Flashertons looking to start this week, if I'm not mistaken, close, if nothing else.
Yeah, keep your eyes out for the Flashertons, hopefully this week to get started. Right now, I'm ranked at number 10, and we'll see where he kind of steps into that role as he gets the season started. Going to be trying to pack in games in bunches when he does. Doso, I think, at number 12, like you said, pretty high ranking for him as far as his career goes, but his offense has been great, and his pitching is as standout as always. So once he gets, as you see, only 4 games last week. If he plays a few more games this week, I think, and we get to see more action from the Firebirds, we're really going to get a good idea of where he's at and as far as his improvement. And yeah, I'll let you take it away on me. I just tough week as far as the Sox go, I think.
Yeah, decent splits versus, of course, the Miners and the Megafauna, two Match of the Week opponents. But you can see the 0-2 versus the Dragoons, and that's I don't think that's anything to be ashamed about, because we will see those Dragoons in what might be their greatest power ranking spot ever. I don't know. I don't want to ruin the surprise. We will see here, and we'll get there as quickly as we can here as we move on up past the Flash there into 9, 8, and 10, which is Corruptions. Holding Pat didn't actually play in week 2. We'll look to see more from him in week 3 after a great 4-2 start. No Hummus moves up 2 spots. Great showing from him. He is at 500 after a sweep versus the Bayside Colts, a split with myself, and then, of course, taking on the Great Ashnod as he returned. And myself dropping 2 spots with a couple of splits.
Yeah, very interesting setup here. Like you said, you see Hummus rising up. Big run scored per 9, 5.3 so far this season. Perhaps some of the highest offensive numbers he's really achieved as far as the Super Mega Baseball 3-hour is concerned, at least in the XBL. Batting at .310 with a good amount of home runs. So good for him to get the ball rolling nicely to start out this young season. I think at 6-6, he looks a lot less dangerous by record, but when you get into those nitty-gritty with the numbers, you're dealing with one of the offensive juggernauts of the league, really. We're going to see more out of Corruptions, hopefully. Like you said, he had a good start out with those first 6 games, so coming weeks are going to be interesting. And like you said, just a 2-spot drop for you. The offense still looking to get rolling, but your pitching stand out as always. It's going to keep you in a lot of games. So at 7 looking appropriate right now. It's going to be all about how you pick up those wins going forward and get the bats to wake up.
That'll take us into the top 6, where there's some shakeups. Jam Paladin just keeps moving on up. He moves from 8 to 6. A 6-spot promotion for the Dragoons, who were absolutely raking last week, as you can attest to, I'm sure. And then a 1-spot demotion for Luke, though not really any true fault of his own. Just a promotion for someone that we will get to on the next slide.
Yeah, you see Ted there with the 370 average, 6.25 runs scored per 9. So really good early season out of him, just getting on base a ton, converting a lot of runs, and able to keep. But his defensive stats, his runs allowed per 9 is a little bit higher than you would expect out of a former Von Asen winner. So if that's where he cleans up, you'll see him jump a little bit further away from that 500 record. The Surfer's at 11-3. You'd have to wonder why they're ranked so low, but really it's strength of schedule, I think, in the early season. But as he continues to get things going, continues to schedule more series, he just keeps winning games and showing people that it's really no joke that the Surfers are ranked so favorably among the group. And the separation between his runs scored per 9 and runs allowed per 9 are showing a big difference. The batting average against was really, really low for a while. He played he played against, I think, GTM, and those games might be recorded. So that definitely raised a little bit. But still at 242, very impressive. And then Luke, a quiet week from him, 1-1 versus No-Name. We talked already about that upset. He's dropping, like you said, from a raise someone else as we get into the top 3. Looking impressive on that run scored per 9. He's going to be tough to stop going forward with that eye.
And speaking of eyes, we have the top 3, and you could argue the top 3 eyes. It's certainly debatable, but GTM looking nasty there. Light Snack at 2, and then Ashnod, who we had ranked at number 1 preseason and after week 1. He makes his return here in week 2 and goes a clean 4-0. A few big wins, clean wins. Worth mentioning, I was going to say it when we were talking about Ted, but one of the games versus Ted very close, and that definitely helped Ted's prospects, I would say.
Absolutely, but as Ashnod does that close game, I believe I noted a scoreline of 7-5, where Ashnod hit some 5 home runs and only scored 7 total runs. So in his usual fashion, he managed himself 13 home runs in those 4 games, and definitely emphatically returned to the league and showed us why he's ranked so highly at number 1 so consistently. Snack, a quiet week. You see 5-0 there. Some games are getting entered. He finished last week at 4-0, so no results here to show you guys. It's going to be interesting to see how the Birdies do, competing with Ashnod for that top spot. And it's going to be all about how Team Liquid keeps up with them. I think this is going to be the shape of your top 3 going forward for most of the season if the offenses hold up for all these guys.
Those are your XBL power rankings after 2 weeks of play. We'll see how it shakes up after the 3rd week, which started, of course, this morning. And for our next segment, we're going to revisit some of those storylines that fellow caster Fluribel left for us last week, and we'll just kind of follow up on each of them, see how they have developed. Leaders of the pack, that was a commentary on Ashnod, Mike the Cooch, and the Flash, all having not started their games after 1 week of play, and how it was going to affect the race when they did come back. Well, we do have Ash back. Unfortunately, we lost Mike, and we're still waiting on Flash.
Yeah, so there's definitely some shaking up as far as that leader of the pack goes. Like you said, we do not have Mike due to some circumstances for him. Good news all around, but we will not have the Cooch Potatoes this season, so that's going to leave a little bit of a power vacuum towards that number 3-4 spot. And Ashnod coming back, getting started, showing everybody he's no joke. That new team build's not going to be any problem for him, probably, offensively as that goes forward. And we're waiting on Flash, like we already said during the power rankings. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes this week for him.
And the 500 gang was talking about how there was a cluster in that middle of the pack. And while the names have changed a bit, that middle of the pack is still super tight. I believe 4 players at 500, 2 players are 2 below 500, and 2 players are 2 above 500. So still just packed like sardines.
Yeah, I always talk about sipping on that parity juice. It's one of my favorite things in this league. It's just anybody can really beat anybody at any time. As far as all 3 tiers go, but what we're talking about specifically right now is how close it is in the middle of the XBL itself, with all those teams at 500 or close to 500. As the next couple weeks go on, it's going to be interesting if any of those teams stay there, or some teams nosedive, some teams take a big jump forward. It's going to be really, really interesting. Some really, really big series are about to get scheduled.
Rookies on the rise, talking, of course, about the very large rookie class, certainly the largest since season 8, the season of PC integration. The rookies, they've all been impressive in their own rights, especially GTM and Jam there at the top of the standings, but not, certainly great things as well. The pitching of Keck, the power ability of Webb, and then just the all-around great gameplay of Corruptions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really, really fun to see. Like you said, the biggest rookie crop we've had in a while, in about 2 seasons, and they've all really shown out, and it's going to be great, I think, at the end of the season to see where everybody falls as far as results go, because I don't think you can really call it. You think someone might be the rookie of the year one week, and then someone steps
Sure.
up the next week and shows you that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So the end of season awards is going to be interesting too for that group.
And Yellowfin yucking it up, of course, referencing the Yucca Valley Yellowfin. That's Philly's Rock, who has been ranked number one in the power rankings a couple weeks in a row. He's tearing up the league, but since, of course, we talked about the storyline has been upset a couple times. One to Rise and Fall, I believe one to either was it M Bennings or BBLC. I'm sorry, blanking, but maybe just not still dominant, but maybe not quite as dominant as he looked in week one.
Yeah, absolutely. We thought the double back-to-back most improved player was really going to possibly run away with the top of the AAA this season. So far, there's a bit of competition, I think, in that top three and among the rest of the group. Like you said, he lost to Rise and Fall. He's lost to a couple of the other mid-table players as well, and he's got competition as far as M Bennings. As far as I'm concerned, I'm thinking of M Bennings, Wishbone, and Rainey with that pitching as well. It's going to be really tight at the top of that AAA this season, and into those deeper playoffs, semifinals. That shape up is going to be very, very different. I think it's going to be anybody's ball game.
And the Cougar Town headline, that was, of course, referring to Cougar in the Double A, ranked one a couple weeks in a row now. At the time of last weekly roundup, he was undefeated and looking great, looking like he could make that run, that undefeated Double A run. He has lost, though. I believe he's 11-1, still an excellent season going into that round robin.
Yeah, absolutely. Cougar just having a great season in the Double A, looking to possibly come away with some hardware, but he's going to have to get through the tournament first. It was shown that he can be defeated, like you just said, and one loss is only one loss, but running away with that season undefeated would have been very, very impressive from him. It's going to be cool to see this new style tournament, how everybody shakes out in the Double A.
And we will move on now into our final segment, which is the top 5 plays of the week as decided by myself and Dwayne. And we're going to start off with a very well-timed grand slam off the bat of rookie Kekayula, 24 against sophomore B. Hagen in a tied game late. And honestly, very aesthetically pleasing the way it wraps around that pole on a line.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a huge home run there from the tag piece. And I can't lie, that's one of the more impressive ones that snuck over the fence and that I've seen in my day.
We'll watch that beauty one more time there off the bat of Kekayula. And that'll take us into the number 4 play of the week, which comes from the AAA. This is, of course, Wolfie Lion and his Wolfie Lions tied game against the Hippies. Very well executed dive in the left center field gap. One of the deepest parts of that field.
Yeah, that is a huge play. You really have to time that dive well, get out there nice and early, and be confident that you're going to make that catch to get it done. When I saw this one from Wolfie when we were looking through the plays, I was like, wow, the timing is what always impresses me in these, is because it's so easy to miss, give up extra bases.
Yeah, you really got to go early for it and then just trust that you made the right trajectory, and he sure did. And that's worthy of our number 4 play of the week, which takes us to the number 3 play of the week. And it's a similar catch. This time it's Rise and Fall in late innings here on the warning track with the runner going. Game would have ended. Instead, it's extra innings.
Yeah, and this kept Rise in the game at least for a little while longer. I think he did end up dropping it to Rainey in extras overall, but in a game when you're playing against one of the top players in the AAA, you got to do everything you can to get outs and stay in it, and Rise was doing it right there, just making that catch and laying out for it.
Yeah, gave himself the chance to win in extras there. I don't believe he did, but nonetheless, an excellent catch. And before we get into the top 2 plays of the week, you know what time it is. We are going to look at the not top plays of the week, the low lights. We have 3 of them for you. 3 unfortunate plays here. And of course, it's going to start with one of 2 plays that were submitted by Snowbird. Oh my, it just bounces off the first baseman's glove and into the dugout.
Yeah, true insult to injury as that one rolls into the dugout there. Bingotable not helping you out there with no railing over that portion, and shit happens, as they say. Pardon my French, but that's just the worst error to get in this game. It truly is visceral pain when you see that.
Yeah, we we're not going to put in both of the plays, but they were both very similar. First baseman dropping a double play ball. The next not top play of the week comes from Webb in a close game, 3-1. And I believe surrenders a run on this play. Heads up base running by Jam Paladin. Uh, Obviously, you can't really expect this to happen often, but it did, and it cost a run, and that's brutal.
Yeah, that's why you always got to send that runner there with 2 outs. You never know what's going to happen with the fielder. As long as you get wood to the ball, you got to make someone make a play, and just tough for Webb there as his second baseman drops it, and then insult to injury is the next one, a deep double lets a run score.
Insult to injury, indeed. That first baseman just not quite making the routine play, and that'll take us into our number one not top play of the week. These really actually aren't really ranked in any kind of hierarchy, but we do like to just put them in here for you. This came from match of the week last night. Wishbone Rules versus Wolfie Lion, up 1-0. His ace grounds out and then gets hurt just running to first.
Yeah, it's more a subtle play there. You're watching the action and wondering what's going on there, but at the end of the play, you see the fitness down pop up over the pitcher's head running there to first base, and that's got to sting. When you're on prime time, trying to win a big game, you got your ace on the mound versus the other team's ace, and your dude just pulls his hammy running to first. That's a big oof.
Big oof indeed, and that'll take us back to our top plays of the week. We'll end on a high note here. The number 2 play of the week belongs to Rainey. Down to his final out, I believe he said something like, all right, last chance, here we go, on his stream. He hits the game-tying home run with 2 outs, and either 1 or 2 pitches later wins the game on back-to-back homers.
Yeah, that first one there was an impressive shot, 452 feet, and you see now he's going to get set up here for the second one with that number 3 hitter. Rainey's got a ton of points into those hitting bars, and it pays off here, winning him a big ball game. Look at that shot. Back-to-back to win one.
Absolutely snatching victory from the jaws of defeat down to the final out. Back-to-back homers. Tough for Blue Panther, but just unbelievable for Rainey. And that takes us to the number 1 play of the week, and this comes from one of the big upsets in the AAA this week. Oxbox defeating Judas Goat and his Borgs, and in the bottom of the ninth, or the top of the ninth, this play made all the difference with the tying run set to score in the biggest park in the game.
Yeah, and a game that ended 1 run, that's truly what gives a lot of gravity to this catch. This was stroked by Judas, and I don't think it's getting out of the park, but it's getting over Ox's head there if he does not jump and get it, and you can see there it was absolutely crucial. That would have tied the game and possibly made things a lot worse for the holograms.
Yeah, very well-timed jumped on the track. It was a rip off the bat of Judas Goat. Instead, no run will score. Heavy, his team is the holograms. You can see it says heavy hitters in the top of the screen, but the holograms win that game. Big upset, big for Oxbox, and worthy, in our opinion, of the number 1 play of the week. And that'll do it for our roundup show here tonight. After 2 weeks of play, we will do another show at some point next week, probably not Monday night, because that's when we're aiming to get our match of the weeks in. Remember, there will be no match of the week broadcast on the 4th of July Sunday night, so make sure you adjust your calendars, and we'll see you when we see you. Thank you guys so much, and Dwayne, you are good to take us out.
Thank you, Weaver. It was great to be back with you tonight for another weekly roundup. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for just submitting all your plays, getting your games in for all of our players. It's been a real pleasure to be able to put another one of these together for you. And like Weaver said, we'll be back later on the weekdays next week. No Sunday match of the week for 4th of July. So just get everything in. Enjoy your weekend as well for the holiday. And thanks for joining us again here for another production on the Cross Platform Baseball League. Take it easy, everybody.
Have a great night.